So, got a vehicle in here with an AC issue. AC system does not work properly or at all. There is a gauge in the dash where somebody was measuring temperature. Somebody tried to use an AC service kit, kind of like this one. I'm going to break down quickly for you why that doesn't work. And I'll start with this. First of all, the system is pretty sensitive to having the proper amount of Freon and the proper amount of oil in it. You have a high pressure sensor and a low pressure sensor. If the system detects too much pressure, it'll shut off or it'll fast cycle. If it detects too little pressure, it won't turn on at all. This is to save the compressor. Fast cycle also happens if you have water in the system. Well, how would you get water in the system? If you need to add Freon, that means you're low on Freon. If you are low on Freon, it's because you have a leak. If you have a leak, when the system is no longer under pressure, then atmospheric pressure overpowers that leak and gases from our air get into the system. And it's supposed to be a pretty sealed system. You don't want anything in here besides a very special oil and Freon. That's it. So if you get water in the system, it'll start to fast cycle because it thinks it's got high pressure because water is not compressible. That's an AC compressor. It tries to compress the system, and then water gets involved and it can't. So it gets hot and detects high pressure. Anyway, this is the kind of gauge that you get with one of these refill kits. I'm not going to get into how this gauge works. Just know that it doesn't work accurately enough. If you look at this label here, which every car has in some way, it tells you 1 pound 9 ounces, 1.56 pounds. And then oil is measured in ounces as well. You can't measure this accurately enough to get exactly 1.56 pounds, or you can't measure the oil going in at all. In this example, this is what we pulled out of the system. We pulled out 3.1 pounds, 3.10 pounds, and 0.07 ounces of oil. That is 0.02 pounds away from being double the amount of Freon that's supposed to be in this system. That's what happens when you use one of these. The amount of oil in the system is what would that be? 1/100th the amount of oil that's supposed to be in there. That's what happens when you use one of these. Thankfully, the compressor probably didn't turn on because it detected high pressure, and so the lack of oil may not have damaged that compressor. I also really quickly want to go over what this machine does. This machine solves that. It pulls it under vacuum at roughly 27 inches of vacuum. In that range, water evaporates. Then the system ends up essentially dry, empty, nothing in there. And I can properly measure the amount of stuff going back into it. Please don't buy these for whatever price they're at right now, when you can pay a reasonable shop like myself, $120, $130 to get it fixed properly. Oh, and one more thing. When I do fill it with the proper amount of oil, that oil has a UV sensitive leak detection dye in it. What that means is, since I'm not aware of where the leak is right now, I'll refill it and then we'll run it for a bit. And if it's not a big enough leak, then I'll have them bring it back when the system's not working very well. At that point, I can use a UV light and figure out where the UV dye is showing up. Wherever it is, I'll find it because of the UV dye. And then we fix that problem, and you don't have to do this again. You don't have to spend $50 or $70 or $80 or $100 every year to do this and maybe have it work for a little while. Shameless plug, we're in Bellevue. Give us a call.